Good morning. Good morning. In spite of how I feel, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, according to my clock. It's 7:06 or 7:09, depending on the clock. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to 40 Entrepreneur Drive. My name is Kenya. I will be reading the Bible today, and today is February 18, 2020. It is now 7:10 a.m. Thank you for joining me as I read my Bible every day, which is my resolution to do for this year, 2020, is to read my Bible daily, and I'm doing it here with my YouTube friends. This is the Bible that I am reading. It is the New Believers Bible Compact Version, and it is a very modern read, like modern English read. And so from time to time, some of the scripture that you may be used to hearing might sound a little bit different because it's like modernized. But it allows me to read straight through without any I don't want to say confusion, but without any old-timey words. I think I got my scripture if they're wrong. 22 through 24 it should say. It just says 22. Let me change that real quick. Okay, it says that in the description, but in the title it does not. So let me add that on there. 24. There we go. So it should now say Leviticus 22 through 24, week 8. All right. If you refresh your screen or if you're coming in for the first time, Leviticus 22 through 24 is what the reading is for today. I will do a quick recap of yesterday, which should have been 19, right? 19 through 21. Let me pop over and do a quick screen share for the guide that I'm using. So we are in week 8 of reading the Bible using a woman's guide to reading the Bible in a year, life-changing journey into the heart of God. Yesterday was 19 through 21, and today is 22 through 24. The overall thing. Well, here is the cover of the book. If you want to look it up yourself, A Woman's Guide to Reading the Bible in a Year, by Diane Stortz. And the overall theme, I don't remember actually. Let's see. Because each week there is a theme to the passages that are being read. And this one is wow. A little bit of technical difficulty today, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to push through. All right. Page doesn't want to turn. How about I just go to the table of contents? There we go. Week 8, Reasons for Rejoicing. Reasons for Rejoicing is the theme of this week as we are finishing up the end of Leviticus. All right, here is the recap of yesterday. Holiness in personal conduct, that was for the priests. No, actually it wasn't. Holiness in personal conduct, that was for everybody. That was chapter 19. Chapter 20 is punishments for disobedience, which sounded very similar to a lot of the 10 Commandments, but it was basically saying, if you do this, this is what will happen, or if you do this, this is the punishment for that. And chapter 21 was instructions for the priests. There we go. Now, chapter 22. Make sure I can see my chat room. Make sure I can see myself. And yes. All right. Chapter 22 of Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to be very careful with the sacred gifts that the Israelites set apart for me, so they do not bring shame on my holy name. I am the Lord. Give them the following instructions. In all future generations, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean when he approaches the sacred offerings that the people of Israel consecrate to the Lord, he must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. If any of Aaron's descendants has a skin disease or any kind of discharge that makes him ceremonially unclean, he may not eat from the sacred offerings until he has been pronounced clean. He also becomes unclean by touching a corpse, or by having an emission of semen, or by touching a small animal that is unclean, or by touching someone who is ceremonially unclean for any reason. The man who is defiled in any of these ways will remain unclean until evening. He may not eat from the sacred offerings until he has bathed himself in water. When the sun goes down, he will be ceremonially clean again, and he may eat from the sacred offerings, for this is his food. He may not eat an animal that has died a natural death or has been torn apart by wild animals, for this will defile him. I am the Lord. The priests must follow my instructions carefully, otherwise they will be punished for their sin and will die for violating my instructions. I am the Lord who makes them holy. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offerings. Even guests and hired workers in a priest's home are not allowed to eat them. However, if a priest buys a slave for himself, the slave may eat from the sacred offering, and if his slaves have children, they may also share his food. If a priest's daughter marries someone outside the priest's family, she may no longer eat the sacred offering. But if she becomes a widow or is divorced and has no children to support her, and she returns to live in her father's home as in her youth, she may eat her father's food again. Otherwise, no one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering. Any such person who eats the sacred offering without realizing it must pay the priest for the amount eaten, plus an additional 20%. The priest must not let the Israelites defile the sacred offerings brought to the Lord by allowing unauthorized people to eat them. This would bring guilt upon them and require them to pay compensation. I am the Lord who makes them holy. And now talking about worthy and unworthy in verse 17. And the Lord said to Moses, "Give Aaron and his sons and all the Israelites these instructions, which apply to both native Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. If you present a gift as a burnt offering to the Lord, whether it is to fulfill a vow or as a voluntary offering, you will be accepted only if your offering is male and a male animal with no defects. It may be a bull, a ram, or a male goat. Do not present an animal with defects, because the Lord will not accept it on your behalf. If you present a peace offering to the Lord from the herd or the flock, whether it is to fulfill a vow or a voluntary offering, you must offer a perfect animal. It may have no defect of any kind. You must not offer an animal that is blind, crippled, or injured, or that has a wart, a skin sore, or scabs." Oh, this is the first time it's being really specific. Such animals must never be offered on the altar as special gifts to the Lord. If a bull or lamb has a leg that is too long or too short, it may be offered as a voluntary offering, but it may not be offered to fulfill a vow. If an animal has damaged testicles or is castrated, you may not offer it to the Lord. You must never do this in your own land, and you must not accept such an animal from foreigners and then offer it as a sacrifice to your God. Such animals will not be accepted on your behalf, for they are mutilated or defective. And the Lord said to Moses, "When a calf or lamb or goat is born, it must be left with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as a special gift to the Lord, but you must not slaughter a mother animal and her offspring on the same day, whether from the herd or the flock. When you bring a thanksgiving offering to the Lord, sacrifice it properly, so you will be accepted. Eat the entire sacrificial animal on the day it is presented. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. I am the Lord. You must faithfully keep all my commands by putting them into practice, for I am the Lord. Do not bring shame on my holy name, for I will display my holiness among the people of Israel. I am the Lord who makes you holy. It was I who rescued you from the land of Egypt, that I might be your God. I am the Lord. And verse 23 is the appointed festivals. I hope you guys cannot hear the congestion in my nose. I hear it. I need to bring some lemon water in here. Note to self: suck on a lemon before you start. Get rid of all this congestion up here. I can hear it. Chapter 23, the appointed festivals. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as official days for holy assembly. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh is the Sabbath, a day of complete rest, an official day for holy assembly. It is the Lord's Sabbath, and it must be observed wherever you live. In addition to the Sabbath, these are the Lord's appointed festivals, the official days for holy assembly that are to be celebrated at their proper times each year. And now, Passover and Festival of the Unleavened Bread starts in verse 5. The Lord's Passover begins at sundown on the 14th day of the first month. On the next day, the 15th day of the month, you must begin celebrating the festival of unleavened bread. This festival of the Lord continues for 7 days, and during that time the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, all the people must stop their ordinary work and observe an official day for holy assembly. For 7 days you must present special gifts to the Lord. On the seventh day, the people must again stop all their ordinary work to observe an official day for holy assembly. Verse 9 talks about celebration of first harvest. Then the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you enter the land I am giving you and harvest its first crops, bring the priest a bundle of grain from the first cutting of your grain harvest. On the day of the Sabbath, the priest will lift it up before the Lord, so it may be accepted on your behalf. On that day, you must sacrifice a 1-year-old male lamb with no defects as a burnt offering to the Lord. With it, you must present a grain offering consisting of 4 quarts of choice flour moistened with olive oil. It will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. You must also offer 1 quart of wine as a liquid offering. Do not eat any bread or roasted grain or fresh kernels on that day until you bring this offering to your God. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. Verse 15 talks about the festival of harvest. From the day after Sabbath, the day you bring the bundle of grain to be lifted up as a special offering, count off 7 full weeks. Keep counting until the day after the seventh Sabbath, 50 days later. Then present an offering of grain to the Lord. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves of bread to be lifted up before the Lord as a special offering. Make these loaves from 4 quarts of choice flour and bake them with yeast. They will be an offering to the Lord from the first of your crops. Along with the bread, present 7 1-year-old male lambs with no defects, 1 young bull and 2 rams as burnt offerings to the Lord. These burnt offerings, together with the grain offerings and liquid offerings, will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Then you must offer 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 1-year-old male lambs as a peace offering. The priest will lift up the 2 lambs as a special offering to the Lord, together with the loaves representing the first of your crops. These offerings, which are holy to the Lord, belong to the priest. That same day will be proclaimed an official day for holy assembly, a day on which you do no ordinary work. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation, wherever you live. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest the grain along the edges of your fields, and do not pick up what the harvesters drop. Leave it for the poor and the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. Okay. Verse 23 is the festival of trumpets. The Lord said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. On the first day of the appointed month in early autumn, you are to observe a day of complete rest. It will be an official day for Holy Assembly, a day of commemorated with loud blasts of a trumpet. You must do no ordinary work on that day. Instead, you are to present special gifts to the Lord." The Day of Atonement is verse 26. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Be careful to celebrate the Day of Atonement on the 10th day of that month, 9 days after the Festival of Trumpets. You must observe it as an official day for Holy Assembly, a day to deny yourselves and present special gifts to the Lord. Do no work during that entire day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when offerings of purification are made for you, making you right with the Lord your God. All who do not deny themselves that day will be cut off from God's people, and I will destroy anyone among you who does any work on that day. You must not do any work at all. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation, wherever you live. This will be a Sabbath day of complete rest for you, and on that day you must deny yourselves. This day of rest will begin at sundown on the 9th day of the month and extended until sundown on the 10th day." We got quite a few postscript explanations at the bottom. Verse 23 and 21. This celebration, called the Festival of Harvest, or the Festival of Weeks, was later called the Festival of Pentecost. See Acts 2 and 1. It is celebrated today as Shabbat or Shabbath. In 23:24, the Hebrew rendering says, "On the first day of the 7th month." This day is in the ancient Hebrew lunar calendar, occurring in September or October. This festival is celebrated today as Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Verse 23 and 27, in Hebrew, it says on the 10th day of the 7th month. Let's see, there's a note. This day in ancient Hebrew lunar calendar occurred in September or October. It is celebrated today as Yom Kippur. Also in 23:27, a second part, to fast. Okay, when I said deny yourself, the Hebrew wording would have said to fast. Let's see, 23 and 28, when atonement is made before you. I believe that's when I said you're made right before God. 23 and 34 is talking about the Festival of Booths, or the Festival of Tabernacles. This was earlier called the Festival of Final Harvest, or Festival of Ingathering. It is celebrated today as Sukkot or Sukkoth. Let's see, verse 23 and 34. In Hebrew, it's talking about on the 15th day of the 7th month. That's how it would read. And in 23:39, in Hebrew, it says on the 15th day of the 7th month. And I think I'm all caught up with the postscripts. Yeah. The Festival of Shelters is verse 33. And the Lord said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Begin celebrating the Festival of Shelters. On the 15th day of the appointed month, 5 days after the Day of Atonement, this festival to the Lord will last 7 days. On the first day of the festival, you must proclaim an official day for Holy Assembly, when you do no ordinary work. For 7 days you must present special gifts to the Lord. The 8th day is another holy day, on which you present your special gifts to the Lord. This will be a solemn occasion, and no ordinary work may be done that day. These are the Lord's appointed festivals. Celebrate them each year as official days for Holy Assembly by presenting gifts to the Lord: burnt offerings, grain offerings, sacrifices, and liquid offerings, each on its proper day. These festivals must be observed in addition to the Lord's regular Sabbath days, and the offerings are in addition to your personal gifts, the offerings you give to fulfill your vows, and the voluntary offerings you present to the Lord. Remember that this 7-day festival to the Lord, the Festival of Shelters, begins on the 15th day of the appointed month. After you have harvested all the produce of the land, the first day and the 8th day of the festival will be the days of complete rest. On the first day, gather branches from magnificent trees, or gather fruit from majestic trees, and on the first day, gather branches from magnificent trees, palm fronds, boughs from leafy trees, and willows that grow by the streams. Then celebrate with joy before the Lord your God for 7 days. You must observe this festival to the Lord for 7 days every year. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed in the appointed month from generation to generation. For 7 days you must live outside in little shelters. All native-born Israelites must live in shelters. This will remind each new generation of Israelites that I made their ancestors live in shelters when I rescued them from the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses gave the Israelites these instructions regarding the annual festivals of the Lord. Let's see. Verse 20 or chapter 24 is the final reading for today, talking about pure oil and holy bread. The Lord said to Moses, "Command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually." This is the lampstand that stands in the tabernacle, in front of the inner curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant. Aaron must keep the lamps burning in the Lord's presence all night. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. Aaron and the priests must tend the lamps on the pure gold lampstand continually in the Lord's presence. You must bake 12 loaves of bread from choice flour, using 4 quarts of flour for each loaf. Place the bread before the Lord on the pure gold table and arrange the loaves in 2 rows with 6 loaves in each row. Put some pure frankincense near each row to serve as a representative offering, a special gift presented to the Lord. Every Sabbath day, this bread must be laid out before the Lord. The bread is to be received from the people of Israel as a requirement of the eternal covenant. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron and his descendants, who must eat them in a sacred place, for they are most holy. It is a permanent right of the priest to claim this portion of the special gifts presented to the Lord. This reminds me of communion, when it says that in verse 8, I'm reading chapter 24, in verse 8, when it says, "Every Sabbath, this bread must be laid out before the Lord. The bread is to be received from the people." Oh, maybe I'm reading that wrong. It's to be received from the people of Israel as a requirement of the eternal covenant. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron. Oh, I read that backwards. I was reading it as the people are to receive the bread. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron and his descendants. Okay, so it belongs to Aaron, who must eat them in a sacred place. But it's still 12. I did notice that. 2 rows of 6 loaves. That's 12 loaves. Is that to represent each of the 12 tribes? Verse 10 starts talking about an example of just punishment. One day, a man who had an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father came out of his tent and got into a fight with one of the Israelite men. During the fight, this son of an Israelite woman blasphemed the name of the Lord with a curse. So the man was brought to Moses for judgment. His mother was Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri and of the tribe of Dan. They kept the man in custody until the Lord's will in the matter should become clear to them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Take the blasphemer outside the camp and tell all those who heard the curse to lay their hands on his head." Then they let the entire community stone him to death. Say to the people of Israel, Those who curse their God will be punished for their sin. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be stoned to death by the whole community of Israel. Any native-born Israelite or foreigner among you who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. Anyone who takes another person's life must be put to death. Anyone who kills another person's animal must pay for it in full, a live animal for the animal that was killed. Anyone who injures another person must be dealt with according to the injury inflicted. A fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Whatever anyone does to injure another person must be paid back in kind. Whoever kills an animal must pay for it in full, but whoever kills another person must be put to death. This same standard applies both to native-born Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. After Moses gave all these instructions to the Israelites, they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him to death. The Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded. That completes the reading for today, as I have read Leviticus 22 through 24. Ooh. Ooh. Thank you so much for my special guest in the chat room today, Life of Key. I hope you and your child are feeling better soon. Erica Brene, I hope you are feeling well today. And of course, Mama's Homestead that just popped in. Good morning, good morning. I am wrapping it up actually. I just completed the reading for today, which was Leviticus 22:24. But thank you for my special guest in the chat room. As I am trying my best to keep my strength and stay of good cheer in spite of any sickness. I want to keep in mind I would like to keep in mind and do just a small prayer for Life of Key, who said yesterday that her child was sick. Lord, I pray that you are with her and her family, and that you bring healing to the child of Life of Key, that he may be healed and restored completely. Bring comfort and calm back to the family as they are dealing with and caring for this sick child. For my friend Erica Brene, any issues that she may be having, Lord, be with her, comfort her, console her, and strengthen her. Answer any prayers that she has, any needs that she has. To my newest person that has started to listen in, I want to make sure I'm saying the name right. Katahdin Cooking's Mama's Homestead. Whatever needs or prayers that she and her family has, Lord, I pray that you fulfill their needs and show your grace and mercy and strength to all those who are in the chat, and also to those in the replay listening. Lord, I'm already claiming the healing that I have from whatever issues that I'm going through this last couple of hours, last day or so. I'm claiming it already, healing, and I thank you for your many blessings that I have seen and unseen. Thank you for today. I will rejoice today because it is the day that you made. I pray that everyone finds their purpose and finds a blessing somewhere today as we go throughout our day. Amen. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, where I'll be picking it up in Leviticus. I'm going to start calling it Leviticus because now I know that's the tribe of Levi. I will see you guys for, I believe, the final reading of Leviticus tomorrow as we continue reading the Bible. This is week 8, reading the Bible in a year. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the thumbs up. It really makes a difference. Let's YouTube know what a fine job I'm doing. And yeah, I will see you guys on tomorrow. Be blessed. Be blessed. Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Thanks for watching, share, like, and subscribe.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow me on social media.